cow, nothing like bumping the stagecraft around here so that I have good lighting, isn't it? Welcome to the Backyard Professor Chess Videos. I have a game here that I don't think I have seen much discussed or watched on YouTube. Bobby Fischer played against Paul Keres for the Challengers Tournament in 1962. And Fischer was still a teenager now. And he plays the mighty Paul Keres. Paul Keres at this time was at his pinnacle. This is a Ruy Lopez, and it is exquisitely interesting how Fischer does this. I really thought this was interesting. The description, this is out of Frank Brady's excellent little book, Profile of a Prodigy, The Life and Games of Bobby Fischer. Excellent little Bobby Fischer book if you're into history and context and the best of the Fischer games. Mind you, he said still in his teens, he nevertheless refuses to be nettled, and he consequently displays a wisdom beyond his years. He plays a game of cat and mouse which favors the cat himself in a one ending. And so how he does this is what I thought was very, very interesting. So let's take a look. Knight, king, bishop, knight, queen, bishop, and bishop, knight 5, pawn a6, bishop, rook 4, and now the knight up to b3. Fischer will do an early castle, of course. You always castle early in every opening if you can at all possible. And I'm kind of starting to learn that. I still have some people that I do not castle early with, and I end up regretting it every time, so I'm speaking for myself. Castle early, man. It is helpful. It's going to give support to his center, which is proper. This is the escape route if the knight comes chasing after the bishop always. Now Keres will castle, and then he goes pawn, king, rook 3. And now here comes that knight chasing the bishop, so the bishop has a good cubby hole with a real nice diagonal over to the opponent king. And now, come on, pawn, bishop 4. So Keres is immediately playing for some queenside plays, gaining more space on the queen side. And Fischer answers in the center with pawn, queen 4. And now the knight will come to knight, queen, or queen 2, which supports his pawns. So he's directly fighting with the pawns, using the pieces as a backup, which is always a good setup, right? And Fischer will take the bishop pawn. And then we have the pawn exchange. Castle, queen, castle. The queen side momentum and play of Keres is still on. Fischer is going to develop. Queen, bishop 2, which is standard. Knight, bishop 1. He's going to rearrange his knights here, as does Keres. So Keres is putting a lot over on the queen side, right? So we're going to see queen side play. We're going to see a wonderful contrast between queenside play and kingside play here that is really, really instructive. Rook to queen 1. Hit the queen, take the file. Not a problem. Queen will dodge to king 2. And now the bishop will come to king 3. Good, potent bishops there. And now, knight to queen 5. What this move does is it clears out the center a little bit, and it gives white good attacking prospects. That's why he made that move. Very interesting. It's a sharp move. So the knight will take the knight, and the pawn will take the knight. And the bishop will take the pawn. So far, so good. And now the knight will take the pawn, the other pawn. And now rook comes to rook 2. So he's somewhat opened it up. Keres still has great potential and good space on the queen side. Let's see what he does now. Bishop is going to come to f4. Queen to knight 3. It's in the old documentation. This is an old book by Brady, quite a few years ago. And now the rook to queen 1, and now Fischer is fully developed, and he's going to fight through the center here. And he is threatening rook take bishop to open it up. And then once rook takes bishop, then the queen to king 4. And now he's really got a wicked attack on the king side. So, great. I've got a phone call. Hang on, I'll be right back. People, they never leave me alone. Okay, let us proceed here. Keres recognizes this diagonal, and he recognizes the potential for Bobby to open up the diagonal with the queen-bishop battery, and so he's going to start fighting this. Notice how Fischer's play in the center is taking Keres off of the queen side thrust and starting to react to Bobby, because Bobby's threats are much stronger against checkmates against his king than his own queen side. That's great chess, man. I'm just saying. That's great chess. Bobby will make sure he's got the entire force up. He's not going to do a 1 or even a 2-piece attack. Here comes Keres on the queen side now. Notice how Keres immediately begins to emphasize the queen side again, temporarily thwarting the central thrust of Fischer. Good instructional chess right there. And now bishop rook 6, of course. The dark square complex, because he pushed the g-pawn, the dark square complex around the king is weak, and Fischer is going to do an Alekan block against the h7 pawn. Yeah. That ensures some potential future activity on the king attack. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. And now bishop comes to king 3. And bishop comes to knight 3. Just be cognizant of that. And now the queen will come to knight 1, coming back this direction. Coming in here just in case he needs to hurry up and stop Fischer's king side. Yeah. While maintaining the queen side, hopefully. And now Fischer goes rook takes rook check. And the bishop takes rook. Keres doesn't want to move his queen off of the queen side if he can help it, because he really wants to get onto the queen side and pushing the queen side if he can help it, right? And now his queen side completely dissolves. Very interesting how his queen side completely dissolves. Queen takes pawn, and now queen to queen 3. And you're going, whoa, wait a minute. Did we see Fischer make a huge mistake here? And did we see Paul Keres miss a glorious opportunity? Fischer took the pawn. What the heck? Get the queen. Except for the back rank checkmate. And this is a teenager who sees this. I mean, This kid knows how to play, yeah? This is fantastically interesting to see this. So, Keres did not miss an opportunity. Keres can't because of the back rank threat. And so we see, again, the excellent coordination between the bishop hitting the dark squares, keeping that king corralled, and the rook on an open file. That's really important. That's really cool. So now he goes to Queen Rook 4, and Keres comes to Queen King 2. Notice how his queenside completely evaporated. And it began to evaporate, remember, it began to evaporate once Fischer pegged the dark square weakness complex around the king. Yeah, that's when Keres realized, okay, I'm not going to make it on the queen side. Now Keres is playing defense, and that means Bobby Fischer has the initiative, because Fischer is calling the shots. That's really cool to see how he took that initiative away from Keres. And then Queen King 2, yes, and then Knight Bishop 6 check. Again, blocking the f7 pawn. That is a devastating response. That is tough, man. Because of the weakness of the first rank of black, Bobby can keep taking advantage of that. So the king must move. And now, knight to queen 5. Hit the queen, you've got a target. This bishop dare not take, I don't think. Nope, he didn't. Simply because of the back rank checkmate threat and the back rank checkmate threat here. There's too many angles here that's going to clobber him if he's not careful. And now, Queen King 4. Put the queen as the battering ram on the open file. This is tough stuff, really, truly. Keres was able to somewhat take care of the angular thrust, even though the light squared bishop is gone now. In the process, he gave up the file, which now Bobby Fischer is working. He maintains this weakness with this bishop, but now he's going to work through the file. This is really interesting chess. That, for a teenager, he is doing sensational. He's threatening Queen King 5 check and then going to mate. Then all he has to do is bump up to g7. So queen comes to queen 3, stopping that, and now knight comes to bishop 4. He alternates his targets. That's really cool. RSK Oshers, whom I play online quite a bit, my good friend Ash, he does this to me all the time. He keeps alternating targets, and try as I might, I just can't quite stop him from doing that. See, I end up playing reactionary chess because his threats are so much stronger than mine. It's a good learning chess to play with Ash, so it's just fascinating. Either way he does this, he just seems to get whooped. Whooped, I tell you. And now, oh, I did that. Bishop 4, rook king 2. Okay, and now the rook comes to king 2 here. And now the bishop comes to knight 5, and there's other people calling me. Oh my gosh, that's what you get for being popular. Okay, once again, let's resume this game. Bishop came down to knight 5, hitting the rook and knight, so the rook goes back. And now watch the the setup is a pretty good offense, and the setup is a pretty good defense with Keres. Watch what the strategy is of Fischer, and let's take a brief tour of the position, the material. 2 bishops, bishop and a knight, queen and a rook, queen and a rook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns with an island each here, they're not connected, and 6 pawns where all 3 on both sides are connected. Okay, this will help explain why Fischer does what he does. Really interesting. It really does have to do with the material remains on the board right now. Fischer takes the bishop. Now remember, in an endgame, when there are pawns on both sides, bishops are more valuable than knights. And Keres had the bishop pair. So Fischer takes his first bishop. Okay? And now the knight takes the second bishop. The knight takes the second bishop. And now he exchanged all of the minor pieces, taking it to an endgame. And now queen takes queen. And the pawn takes the queen. And the rook takes the pawn. And now they're in an endgame, which is going to be exquisitely interesting. Rook, queen 8. King, rook 2. Rook, queen 7. Rook, knight 6. Rook takes bishop pawn. And rook, knight 7. And rook to bishop 3. And king to knight 3. And it was here that Paul Keres resigned to Fischer, because he realized the end game is going to be Fischer's. So the strategy that we saw Fischer do is trade down to a simplified end game, recognizing that the connected pawns was going to overwhelm these pawns. He had an extra on this side, and he was going to put them in. So that's real interesting. That's how good Fischer was as a teenager. The great Paul Keres didn't even want to play the end game. He said, no, I've had it. That's good. He beat me, so. There is your Backyard Professor Chess video. Hope you guys are staying safe. Have fun, be good, do well. Work hard, play hard. Enjoy yourself. Try to be optimistic. I know sometimes it's tough. Sometimes we get pessimistic, even myself. But optimism and helpfulness and being grateful are greater parts of the human spirit than the pessimism and negativism and all that. So it's a work thing every day, just like on our chess games. We work at them every day. All right, you guys. Thanks. I will see you in the next Backyard Professor Chess video.